The Car Dealer podcast is sponsored by Auto Trader. John, do you know why I, like nearly 14,000 other dealers, work with Auto Trader?
No, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
Well, with around 84 million consumer visits each month, it connects us with more engaged car buyers than anyone else in the UK. And there's the ability to reserve cars when the dealership is closed.
So you can stick to your strict 8 p.m. bedtime.
Exactly. And the Auto Trader team are always on hand to offer their insights, ensure we get the very best from our package, and ultimately sell more cars.
Well, that's good, because you are going to need all the help you can get.
Oi, less of that. Dealers, if you want to find out more, log on to trade.autotrader.co.uk.
Welcome back to the Car Dealer podcast. If you haven't listened before, we pick our favourite stories of the week and ask an automotive industry guest to choose whose stories were the best. I'm Rebecca Chaplin, contributing editor here at Car Dealer magazine, and today I am standing in for your usual blonde-haired host, John Ray, who is off on a launch somewhere. I can't remember what country he said he was in, but he did not think he would be able to do a podcast at the same time. But joining me today is our regular on the podcast, James Baggott. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thanks.
You don't like being described as regular?
No, this is strange, isn't it? This is a little bit like couples therapy, isn't it?
Oh, shut up. Poor Scott.
This is, oh dear.
But I never see you anymore, so this is a great opportunity to find out about what you've been up to. You can tell me about your little impromptu spa treat that Mike Brewer sorted out for you.
Oh God.
I did think, I was like, what would John have picked out to talk to you about this week? What can I talk about? But luckily that just popped to the front of my mind.
That is funny, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny that. Yeah, this is awkward. Well, I should probably tell the listeners what happened. This week I've been out with Mike Brewer this week, filming some stuff for the Used Car Awards. Did a little bit of a walk around of his new expanded dealership. But my colleagues, including John Ray of this podcast, had forgotten that the clocks had gone back. Which meant that we ran out of light very early on, which meant that unfortunately I had to stay up in Warwick, and the only hotel that was available was a spa hotel, which didn't go down well, Rebecca, did it?
No, didn't particularly go down well. When I was at home looking after the children on my own. But good news for the listeners who might be coming to Car Dealer Live. It might turn out that we'll end up using it as the hotel for Car Dealer Live this year, so it's doubled up as actual work somehow.
I mean, I don't want to double down on this, but it was very nice. It was very nice. Well, okay. Anyways, moving swiftly on. Obviously John Ray's not here, is he? Because
can you remember where he is?
He's in Paris. He's in Paris, looking at the new Renault Twingo. I mean, he does some strange things, doesn't he?
I'd quite like to do that though.
It does mean you don't get to see his hat, which has obviously been a big feature of the podcast. And annoyingly, last week we lost the video recording, which meant that nobody could see it, and they can't see it this week. I interviewed Darren Martin this week for a feature about used cars, and the first thing he said is, "John, nice hat." Oh dear. Anyway, what else? What have you been up to, Rebecca, apart from looking after our children?
Not much. I don't know. My mind is just an empty hole, I think, is anyway. I've already described it that way to John. I was trying to remember, talking about Car Dealer Live, I was trying to remember what we did last year, and it's just an absolute blank. I don't know what's going on anymore. I don't know really. I do so much planning stuff. It's not really interesting for people to hear about planning things for Podcast Live and Car Dealer Live and Used Car.
Shall we move on to our guest instead then?
Yeah, we can do. No, can I ask you one question first? Because it sparked off another conversation we had about cars. I'm sure you've already talked about Road Test of the Year on the podcast, but you obviously drove. I'm not expecting you to give away what has won the Used Car Awards Cars of the Year, but I wondered what you thought about them as these cars are slightly older. Are you excited about the winners of the Used Car Award cars?
Yeah, I am. There's some. I look at them slightly differently now, having sold.
We just see the price over the top of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having sold a few of them, and obviously I can't give away what's won, but there were some fantastic cars in there, and they're not. They're normally the sort of vehicles that that consumers love, which means you're going to sell them quickly as a used car dealer, and they're reliable, because nobody likes a warranty claim. So that sort of features quite highly when it comes to this year's winners. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Mike really enjoyed driving them. So yeah, that will be revealed in the not too distant future.
You must
November
get
the
some sent
2nd.
over. But yeah, it's only a couple of weeks. 4 weeks away, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you must get some sent over now, because they're based on how fast they sell and things like that, aren't they? That you just go, no chance.
Yeah, exactly that. But no, our winners, I stand by them, are very, very good cars, and I've enjoyed driving them this week.
Excellent. So that segues nicely on to a serial award winner at the Used Car Awards and other awards that we
very
have
good.
had. Our guest this week is, of course, Scott Sibley of Redgate Lodge and also of Dealerway. How has this week been for you, Scott?
Hi. Very tough, I would say. I think it's just been a tough few months, business-wise. Yeah, just very, very slow for the last 3 or 4 months.
People will be pleased to hear that, because I've heard that from a lot of people.
I think so, yeah. I think so. It's our, it's month end today, but it's our financial year end today as well. So it was like a panic to get everything in, invoiced off and so on. So I think as far as October goes, we're finished probably about 20 cars. We've done over 100, but we're probably finished, maybe about 20 behind where we'd like to be. So it's been climbing the mountain, as they say, and then we'll start again tomorrow.
Scott, tell those people listening then a little bit about your business. I've been up to see it myself, incredibly impressed by the setup you've got. But for those people who don't know anything about your business, explain what you've got.
So we've got 3 sites which are within a mile of each other. We've got an ex-main dealer site at Shiremore, which I think was used to be Hyundai and Seat, I think, back in the day. So we've had that site now for 12 or 13 years. That holds about 150. So we've got a sales team on there, and we've got a Bosch Car Service Centre on there as well, where we'll have mechanics, MOTs, and so on. Valet department on there as well. And then the short journey away is the new Select site, which is what we started that as a cheaper range of cars, but we've moved the price bracket up on that a little bit. We started off at about 6,000, 7,000 and above, and we moved it up to 10,000 and above. But then I think we're probably still missing a little bit of a trick with some of the cheaper cars, where there's a demand for them, for drivers who've just passed their tests and so on. So we're going to have a little look at those to see how that goes. That site just does sales, and that'll hold probably get about 80 or 90 on there, which is nice little site. And then round the corner from there is the prep centre where I'm based. So the prep centre, we've got MOT lane, 5 ramps, and we've also got the body shop in there, which has got 2 commercial ovens. And we've got a big storage yard here where we'll bring all the cars and then prep them. We have about 55 members of staff, and we try and sell about the business is set up for 150 to 200 sales a month, but we haven't been achieving that this year because of I think what's going on in the world and the government and the country and so on. So sales are a little bit down, so it hasn't particularly been a very good year, but we'll battle on.
Scott, that's an incredibly impressive setup you've got there. Tell me where it all began. How did you get into the motor trade, and how have you built it into this business you've got now?
So I started selling cars from home, which is Redgate Lodge, and I was working for a computer. My friend had a computer company at the time selling computer games, so there was shops and things like that. And then he asked me would I go and work for him in that business, which was retail, which I did that for 10 years. And during those 10 years, I would always just buy and sell the odd car from, buy them from the auction and sell them from home. And I used to always think I could get myself an extra, I don't know, back then was probably an extra 30, 40 grand a year, just selling cars. I stuck with Renault Clios because I didn't know anything about the motor trade. And once I just sold those, I would sell like 5 or 6 from one advert, and I got to know the brand and the models and the faults, and had a bit of an eye for the value. So that's all I did was just stick to Renault Clios, and that worked. So we did that for years, and then we're selling so many. We keep out 7 at home, and they were selling really well. I would prep them. My wife would sell them during the day from home, and it worked really well. So there was a little unit came available, which is about 2 miles up the road from where we are in the small industrial estate. So we've got a little small unit on there, and we call it Redgate Lodge, the small car specialist, because I thought if I can just stick to small cars and have a little bit of a niche, and where it was based, it's up at Bedlington, so it was a little bit north of Newcastle. So I thought by having 10 Renault Clios in stock and 10 Minis and 10 Fiestas and 10 Corsas, that would be enough to drive people to the business, because they wouldn't come to see one car, they'd come and think, well, there's a choice of 10. So it worked. That little plan worked, and we were up there for about 3 years. And then we moved the business down to the Shiremore site, which that was a big step. That was risking everything. That was very nervous time, should I say. And we went down there with about 25, 30 cars in stock on a site what can take 100, 150. So we've spaced them well out, and then built it up from there, really. And because we're down in Newcastle, then the small car specialist, the little niche thing, we probably didn't need that as much. So that's when I started looking at other models and makes and so on, and going to the auctions more. I left where I was working, and then I started, I suppose, running the business. Yeah, as a dealership, just getting all different makes and models in, learning as I went along. Probably blew loads of money because I had no experience. I'd never worked at the main dealers or in the motor trade at all, really. So I was just finding your way. And in the early days, it was difficult. Some people would help and advise, and then some traders, they didn't really want to share, which painters they were using or workshops they were using. And back then, which was 15 years ago, I don't think the car sales dealer group was around, the Facebook groups and things like that, where I think you can learn a lot through, just reading some of the comments on that. So there wasn't that then. So it was a bit of a tough start, I suppose.
So Scott, that's been quite a journey. You've picked up some incredible awards over the time, some used car awards, some from lesser known awards ceremonies, but you've picked up many over the years. What's the secret to the success?
I think awards breed awards. I said that from the start. So I think if you get your name out there and you start and apply for some awards, and you constantly attend the awards events, and you're there, and if you put the your what's the word? I've lost the word. The application, that you submit the awards, you put that in and put a lot of thought into that and a lot of detail into that, and look at the category and look at what you think the judge is actually looking for. I think that's half a chance, because I would imagine there'll be a lot of award entries. That's a word, where they're not answering the question, for the judges to read. So I think take your time putting all the entries in properly, and and then just hope that you're in one of those, the shortlists or the finalists.
And you mentioned at the start of this conversation that it's been a little bit quieter for you. I mean, what do you think's happened to the industry? I mean, it's certainly dropped off a little bit for us since probably September time. We had a very good September, but as soon as it changed into October, it got quiet. What do you think the problem is?
The only thing I can put my finger on, I think people are hanging on for this budget. I mean, I don't really get into politics and things like that, and I only really see what I see on the TV, but this Labour Party, they don't seem to be doing a very good job. And everything what's going on in the UK, really, I think it's a bit doom and gloom out there. So I think, normal consumers might be concerned that the tax is going to go up, maybe, I don't know, £10 a month or something like that on their wages, and and whatever big tax issues are planned. So I think people are maybe just holding off a little bit. That would be the only other thing, because kids are back to school. I know it's been half term this week. We always look in the motor trade for different reasons why, but that would be the only thing I could think of was.
Yeah, I think the fact the budget is so late this year is not helping. It's getting very close to Christmas at that point in time, isn't it? I think we're kind of eyeing the January sales really now at this point in time. I mean, it does normally kick off in January, doesn't it? Are you sort of looking forward to that now?
Well, sometimes we've been having quite a good December. Of the last maybe 6 years, December's used to always be just like a bit of a switch off, waste of time. But I think people do a lot of Christmas shopping earlier now. And I think the high street, they bring all the sales on because they're competing against each other. So they put the sales out in September or November sometimes. And a lot of people are getting their Christmas shopping done early. So I don't know if that's helped with December sales. So for us, Decembers haven't been as bad as they used to be. And then January, usually the first 2 weeks is a little bit slow to get it going, and then it normally takes off. I seem to remember January this year we didn't get the massive increase what we'd normally get.
Are you finding it hard to get hold of stock at the moment? Lots of dealers, I say, are explaining that the auctions are a little bit softer at the moment, but they're still struggling to get the stuff that they want. What are you seeing?
I think stock's probably always a problem, but I mean, I've got two buyers, and they look at CarWow and Motorway, and then I do the auctions. I was just on the auctions this morning there, and you know, as everybody knows, if you can buy the cars privately, there's a better selection out there, and you can drive the car, and you have got a chance. The negatives are when you arrive there to get the car and it's not as described. You've got that hurdle to get over, and then the auction cars. You can sometimes get the odd problem with one because they're not driven and you can't drive them. Is one better than the other with prep? Probably not. I don't think one's particularly better. We've bought private cars and had some horror stories when like say Carwell Motorway use their transport drivers and they drop them off and the engines are gone, they're rattling. Where if that car went through the auction, the appraisal might have picked it up. So it's just a bit hard. So getting the choice of cars, I suppose it's just cherry picking the cars from all the different platforms to try and get them. But and prices, yes, it's the usual. The nice cars with the spec, everybody's fighting for those ones, so they're more money. Cars with higher miles don't seem to do particularly very, very well. It depends what the retailer set up for, I suppose.
You've got a big team now as the business has grown. What do you spend your days doing? What is it a case of you can pick the stuff that you really enjoy doing now?
I would say I spend my day proving cars. I would probably work closer with the buyers to make so we go through what cars we're going to buy, what we're looking for, and then I stare at the screen for hours looking that it's all priced correctly. I've got like an OCD thing, so I do that every single day. I do price changes every single day, even if it's just £100. I'll change the cars and be more aggressive with the pricing really from the start. So to try and get the days to turn down and get the cars moving. So we might work on a smaller margin, but we'll get them done. So I sit and do that, and then I work with Anthony, who's our marketing manager. We've obviously just launched the new YouTube channel, Honest Cars, which is quite new. It's with under 6 months old, so we're tinkering around with that. I don't think there's any rule book on it, but we're having a little go, like a behind the scenes of the dealership, and we're doing it like that.
Are you enjoying doing that?
Yeah, it does a bit of. I suppose it's another thought what you have to do. You have to do, think of what the episode's going to be and how well it's going to be received. And yeah, you look at the people who do it well, try and get inspiration from them. We did something with the thumbnails this week because we did one which we actually quite liked. It was to do with Ben, and the video didn't get many views, so we changed the thumbnail around. So I think that we had Joe Betty on one of our podcasts, and he says it's a bit of an art getting the thumbnail right without having the clickbait. Everybody wants doom and gloom, like I bought a Range Rover and it blew up, so everybody's going to click on that. You don't really want any happy stories, otherwise people aren't interested. So I think it's a balance where we've tried to do like a behind the scenes day in the life of a car dealership type of episode, and then we'll do some episodes which are more like what we would call a feature. So we've just got it's going out this week, which is we've got a BMW 1 Series, a new shape, a little white one. We called it Redgate Lodge Revamps, and we've had that car fully resprayed, body kit, wheels, and so on. So that's we recorded the episode for that. So going off the likes of Matt Armstrong when he buys a car and it's been in an accident and he's fixing it and things like that, he seems to get a good viewing numbers up. So we'll put that one out this week and see how that one goes. There's
a lot of time and effort goes into these, though, isn't it? And you really do have to think about producing content. I mean, I know that only too well. Why are you doing it? What's the thinking behind launching a YouTube channel?
I just think there's I don't know. You go through. When you're quiet, you tick all these boxes in your business, and you think, well, we're on TikTok, we're on here, we do this one, we're on Auto Trader, we've done this, and we've done that, and it was something which we didn't really have. The channel we set the channel up actually during lockdown, and there was a friend of mine who does like wedding videos, and he had no obviously weddings on, so we did some like car review videos which we quite enjoyed doing, and we'll put those out there. But we should have really pushed the channel more. And I think it was probably Steve and my partner with Dealerway where we started doing the podcast, and then he was saying to me, do you not watch this one and that one on YouTube? And I said, I don't even watch YouTube. and I've never really watched YouTube or had an interest in it. So, and he thought I was mad because I didn't watch YouTube. So I started watching some of these dealers from down south do them, like Joe Betty and all these other people. And they've got these big channels with big followers. And then I was speaking to Joe and obviously messaging him, and he's quite helpful. And saying how the idea was with our channel, it's not for a monetary value. I know you can get money and all that, but I mean that would be nice. But it was more just to encourage customers to come in and think they're a nice bunch of people. They prep the cars well, and they've got the body shop, and we'll go there for servicing, or we'll go there to buy a car. We'll go there for and so on. So that was the idea, was to get more footfall to the business. A bit of behind the scenes thing, and if we can put a little bit of fun in there and maybe something creative,
Can we talk a little bit about Dealerway? I mean, tell me where the idea came from for that product.
So Dealerway it was myself really. I was struggling to dispose of my part exchanges. We would have like 2 or 3 traders who would we would contact, and which is very long winded. It was hard work trying to get bids on cars, and then they would say they'd have them and wouldn't turn up for them, and it was just like a hindrance. And then when, with us being an independent dealer and not a main dealer, when we send them to the auction, it would just go in the Part X direct lineup in the auction, so the cars wouldn't achieve what they were really worth. And I used to always say, if you could put a piece of paper on the window and put them in the auction and say, we've checked the gearbox, it drives fine, this is good and that's good, you'd have more of a chance. But you can't do that with the auction. So I set up a Facebook group, which was just more for a bit of fun, really, Part X Gold. And I thought, if I put all my part exchanges in there, I'll dispose of them that way. And I just set up a little template, and we just started doing them like that. Important thing was to make sure they'd been driven, which would give a potential trade buyer confidence in coming up and buying the cars, because we're putting our name to it. Also, they could come and buy and drive the car before they paid for it. So that's where it started. And now we're starting to put the cars onto the Part X Gold group. And that grew, and we got to about, I think there's about 5,000 or 6,000 dealers in there, or members. And it kept on growing. And then I messaged Stephen Douglas, my business partner, for Dealerway, and I'd said I had this idea for an idea where we would, possibly migrate the people from the group over onto the app, and would have to develop an app. And because Stephen's obviously very technical and I'm not, he was the perfect choice. So we knew each other for a few years previously. So we just like mapped out what we needed this app to do, and looked at what was out there in the market, which Stephen really did. And he tried to register with different, the competition, if you like. Some people were getting back to him. I don't think they were actually. The odd one might have got back to him and to see about setting up accounts on their systems. And we just thought there was an opening there in the market to help. It was mainly initially, it was probably to help independent dealers dispose of their part exchanges, because unless they had, their favourite car dealers coming around, or, they put the cars in the auction, it was sometimes there wasn't an easy way out. So that was the thought behind it.
You've changed the pricing structure recently, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at it, it's a cheap way for people to buy stock, isn't it? I mean, and actually to dispose of stock. You don't charge people to dispose of their stuff, do you?
No, it's free. It's free to sell, and then it's £99 plus VAT as a buyer's fee. And I think auctions are £500-600, and motorway car wow £400-500 or something like that. So compared to the the main people out there who are offering that service, it is much cheaper. And we changed it. I mean, we've got operating costs there. We've got staff there to cover. There's costs for the app. There's ongoing development with the app that you have to pay for, maintenance on the app. So we do have a cost. So that's how we had to look at it. The original plan was to have it as a subscription channel where you just pay, like, say, £80 a month and buy and sell as many cars as you want. And we thought a lot of the people from the Facebook group would have migrated over, and a lot did, but there was obviously thousands who haven't. And I think what we learned from the early days was a lot of people on the Facebook, they buy and sell cars on Facebook, and they might not be VAT registered, they might not have trade insurance, and they just do it for fun, in the background, like I used to do back in the day. So it's like a different market which we were trying to reach out into.
And you put your money where your mouth is, don't you, with this? Because you actually use Dealerway yourself to sell your part exchanges, and you do very well out of it, don't you? I mean, it's a profit centre for you. Am I right in thinking that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've got Stephen downstairs who's like one of my buyers, and he does the vehicle disposal. So when he puts a car on Dealerway, I give him £25 bonus. So he just puts a log through and puts his commission through at the end of the month. So, and he's fanatical about it. He quite likes doing them. So he'll wash them down. He takes the photographs, take them out for a drive, does the full description, then puts them out there. And our cars, it's rare we don't sell a car. It's very, very rare. And if we don't sell one, what we do is we then prep it ourselves and we'll just retail it. So I think there was a Volvo on there the other week which didn't sell for whatever reason. I don't know why. And we prepped it, sold it. I'm sure we got like 1,500 quid, $2,000 out of it. You know, and it was like a missed opportunity for somebody who just didn't, I don't know, fancy the look of the car. But we sell them. When I used to put them on the group, I used to joke and say they were gone in 60 seconds because there was a lot of people would be frustrated because they'd missed the car. So I was putting the part exchange in the group and they'd be like, oh, I would have had that. I would have had that one. So when we built the app, we put an auction feature in or a buy it now. So every car I put on as a 3-day auction. And I'm not greedy with it. That's the key. It's nice to get trade profit and everybody's out here to make money in the motor trade. But I put it on there. I work out the maths and I think it needs 500 quid of the paint. It needs that. So Auto Trader retails that. So somebody's buying it, you know, they want to be like, you know, 1,500 quid profit. And that's how I used to always do it and leave somebody some margin in the car. And it just always worked for us. And what we do when I put them on a 3-day auction, I put the reserve on very like low. Sometimes I'll put the reserve at less than what the car actually stands me. So I could be putting it on there and making like, I don't know, 200 or 300 quid loss. But what I found is when the car meets reserve, when people see that car is going to be sold, more bids start to come in for those cars.
And a lot of car dealers I speak to have that sort of network of buyers like you used to have, and they just find it a little bit easier to do that because it's simply a case of take a picture of the car and a couple of details and just fire it out on WhatsApp. You're trying to make Dealerway as easy as that, aren't you? I mean, I've seen some things that your team are doing where dealers can just send the cars via WhatsApp. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll do the like the concierge service, what we call it, and the team in there they'll list the cars for dealers. So if dealers didn't have time to do it, they can do it. They also do if a car doesn't sell and it's not far away from the reserve, they'll speak to the buyer and the seller and they'll say, you know, have you got another £50 or £100? We'll get there. So they'll if you like get the deal on. In the background, so they do that, and that's where we've seen the WhatsApp groups have been really good because we'll put a car on there where it might say, you know, it's only £100 off reserve, and somebody looks in the WhatsApp group and they think, oh, actually, they might have missed it through the app and think, oh, I'll have a go at that. So the WhatsApp group's been really popular, and I think the people who are putting the cars on there, if the car hasn't met reserve, they know that we've got these WhatsApp groups with, you know, a few hundred people in there, and we're just pushing in the background to get the cars sold.
Where's the big challenges with that business? I mean, it's a tech business, isn't it? So it must be very different to what you used to. Where are the challenges?
I think the main challenge is getting cars on because we've got buyers on there. We'll have like, I don't know, but I think it's about 3,500 accounts at the moment, which are set up. And there's more buyers on there than there are sellers. And we've got main dealers on there with accounts. We've got buyers from big groups, supercar, you know, type of dealers as well. And so there's a lot of buyers, but the challenge is getting more cars on there. And I think what the problem is, I think a couple of things is I think the motor trade, sometimes people are creatures of habit and they'll send the car to a traditional auction to sell, or they'll ring the trader friend down the road and they don't like change. And then the other challenge is if people tried for the first time, they've got a car which they think, we haven't been able to retail this and Billy the trader doesn't want it, and if I send it to the auction, nobody's going to buy it in there because the wrong colour. Let's put it on Dealerway and see what this Dealerway is all about. And Dealerway isn't magic. That's the thing. And so somebody might use it once and go, oh, that was a waste of time. The car didn't sell. But it was probably never a seller. Do you know what I mean? So if people put some cars on there what other people want to buy, they'd have a better experience. I mean, we've got main dealers on there. There's a dealer, a Skoda dealer, and they've sold over 100 cars. They love it. And you know, you put your car on, and depending on how you set your auction, whether it's 1 day or 3 days, you can sell that car and they're picked up and gone off site within, 2 or 3 days. Mine are within 2 or 3 days, gone, money in the bank. I get the review because I get the review system going through, and I build my reviews up, and then I send them a review who's bought the car, and it just seems to work. I find it really, really easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried it. I sold a Ford KA that was sticking around for us. We couldn't sell it not sure why. Stuck it on Dealerway. It was, like you say, gone in 3 days, and we got back what we'd paid for it, which was what counted, really. Okay, we didn't make a profit, but we just wanted to wipe our feet. So I was pleased with that. The other thing is, I just wanted to touch on with this is you've mentioned there those low fees, £99 for buyer's fee. I mean, if people are buying from auction at £500-600 fees, surely that means that the person selling the car is getting less for the car.
Correct, yeah. Because all dealers work retail back. So we look at a car at an auction, a traditional auction, and we'll say, well, first of all, you got your auction fees. Well, you got the VAT first of all, but you got your auction fees, which are £500 or £600. So you got to take that in, and then bits of paint work, alloy wheels, and before you actually get it back for your workshop prep. So that the sellers really that's who's paying the auction fee. Ultimately, the buyer's getting the fee to pay, but the seller is getting £500 or £600 less for the car. And if you're if you're a small dealer group, and you're disposing to say 20 or 30 cars a week, and you're getting £500 less per car, across the year, it does add up. But as I say, creatures of habit, and it's you get your part exchanges in the weekend. You ring the auction, you say, "Can you come and collect these?" That they turn up on the transporter on maybe it's the Wednesday or Thursday. They then process them through their online system, and then if it sells first auction, it might sell, and then you get paid the week after that. So that's a 2-week process, providing the car actually sells straight away. On Dealerway, it's it can be 1 or 2 days, and the car's gone, the money's back in your bank. So when you've got dealers and they've got huge funding stocking plans, and they've got all this money tied up, and they might end up having 300 or 400 grand tied up in part exchanges on the way to the auction waiting to sell, there's a way of getting that off there by doing that. But I mean, I always said from the start, Dealerway was never there to take from the auctions or replace the auctions. It's just an alternative. It's it could be a faster selling process, because the auctions will always be there, and we'll always need the auctions there. And when on Dealerway, where we say the cars are driven, and if there's various faults with them, we're very honest and truthful with them. Auctions put them through, they've got the grading system, but they couldn't be expected to drive 300 cars. It's like impossible for them. So the auctions will always be there, and they're a massive part of the industry.
Bit of a mindset shift for some dealers, I think. They just need to get their head around it, and it sounds like they should give it a go. If they want to do that, plug time, Scott, where can they find out more information?
Well, if they just go on to dealerway.co.uk, and then if they click on there to set up an account, you can upload the insurance details and your account details. There's 2 levels of account. There's gold and silver. Silver's for the people who haven't got motor trade insurance and VAT and things like that. And then your main account holders, you just set them up and just set up your profile, and then set up your filters. There's a lot of dealers don't set up the filters, so you can get filters set up with notifications on when there's cars what you're looking for. It should just notify you when somebody lists one. But we sell lots of cars through dealers through Dealerway, and there's Dealerway as a platform is selling cars every single day. So it's proven to be very popular. But I think it's for dealers who haven't used it. They need to like you said, just log on, get an account set up, and then put some have a play around with the app. We've also got Martin and Lee, they were in Cumbria last week, and they were speaking to some dealers over there, and what they can do is they can come out and they can visit dealers, and they could spend a day at a dealership, and what they do is they'll work out who the disposal manager is, or the head valeter, whoever's going to be responsible for putting the cars on, and they can spend a day with them and just show them how the app works, how to photograph a car, and so on. I mean, we've got ours down to about, not the test drive, but the photographing the cars and the upload, it's about 10 minutes, if that. But if you're disposing through the auction, and you auction, you're 500 quid less on a car, so Stephen gets his 25 quid, I'm still better off.
It sounds like it's worth the effort. That was a very solid plug there, Scott. Thank you for that. I wish you all the best with the Dealerway business, and good luck in the used car awards that are coming up in the not too distant future. And thank you for joining us today. It's been nice to see you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Super. Right, Rebecca, probably time for some stories. The Car Dealer podcast is sponsored by Auto Trader. John, do you know why I, like nearly 14,000 other dealers, work with Auto Trader?
No, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
Well, with around 84 million consumer visits each month, it connects us with more engaged car buyers than anyone else in the UK. And there's the ability to reserve cars when the dealership is closed.
So you can stick to your strict 8 p.m. bedtime.
Exactly. And the Auto Trader team are always on hand to offer their insights, ensure we get the very best from our package, and ultimately sell more cars.
Well, that's good, because you are going to need all the help you can get.
Oi, less of that. Dealers, if you want to find out more, log on to trade.autotrader.co.uk.
So this is how it works. James and I have both chosen our favourite stories that have appeared on Carty this week. We don't know what each other have chosen, and we are going to take it in turns to reveal our stories and have a little chat about each. And at the end, our judge, Scott, has the final say on who is the winner. So also, if you enjoyed today's show, do make sure to subscribe, follow, whatever you've got, and leave us a review wherever you're listening. James is going to go first. I don't know if he won last week, but he was on the show last week, so I think he should go first.
Sounds like I should do as I'm told.
I don't want to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I am going to start with some breaking news, Rebecca.
Oh, I know I was going to do this one.
Sorry, but this is news that Auto Trader's Catherine Fairs is to leave the business to take on the CEO role at Moonpig. What a change. That is a big change. I was shocked when I read this. So shocked because I spoke to Catherine yesterday for about an hour for an interview on the phone, and she didn't mention it once. Obviously, she couldn't because
wouldn't have been allowed at all.
Wouldn't have been allowed. Moonpig and Auto Trader both listed businesses, and she'll be taking over from the exiting CEO. I'm not sure it says when she's going to be joining.
No, I was wondering that.
But I think it's probably reasonably imminent. The current CEO announced in June that he's going to be stepping down. Search began, and Catherine has been chosen for that role. The reason I picked this story is I just think Catherine has been such a great force for the automotive industry. She's been a fantastic voice for car dealers. We've had lots of robust and tough conversations, me and her, when they've launched something, when there's been a price rise, when Auto Trader has done something a little bit different, and she's always been absolutely fantastic at representing that company and putting across their opinion. I think she's going to be massively missed by Auto Trader, and I was just really, really shocked when I saw that news this morning. I think the automotive industry will be ever so slightly poorer for her moving on to Moonpig. What did you think, Rebecca? Because this was big news that broke just before we started recording, wasn't it?
Yeah, about a couple of hours, wasn't it? Came out. I just think it's going to create a big void at Auto Trader. It's big shoes to fill. We obviously don't know who's going to take over her role. Sometimes things can sort of force a bit of a cabinet reshuffle or whatever. So, it could be quite an interesting time at Auto Trader with things moving around. I guess we don't know how much visibility they've had on her making this move as well. She might have had to keep it a secret until like this morning.
Very different business, isn't it? To go from
I don't know enough about Moonpig to
cars to cards. I mean, I suppose there's only one letter difference, so maybe it makes it a little bit easier. It makes it a little bit easier for her.
I don't really know what to say to that.
No, Scott, what did you think? You've met Catherine quite a few times, I'm sure. What did you think when you saw this news?
Yeah, I seen the news this morning there. On your WhatsApp, what comes around, and I was shocked. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. And she's lovely. She's really nice, and I totally agree with you. She's been massive there for a lot of years. When she first joined, she came up to see us. She got the train up, and we showed her around. She was visiting a few dealers, and I picked her up from the station, and we showed her around. And she'll be a big miss at Auto Trader. I don't know who would whether they'll pull somebody in new or somebody gets promoted up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, she's been there 8 years, I think. So yeah, been
really?
a long time.
Time goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I remember joining.
Right, your story. Over to you.
I am going to go for one of your stories, as I often do, which is the news that you put out this morning about electric car prices rocket as used car prices are on the rise once again. A nice bit of positive news. I would like the use of the word rocket in capitals in the headline. It felt very OTT. But yeah, so this is news from Picasso. James spoke to Darren Martin. We have to say the lovely, lovely Darren Martin, because he will definitely be listening to this. He said that EVs are the strongest fuel type. I think there's definitely a wave of people looking at electric vehicles now in the used car market, and that demand definitely seems to have picked up. There's some really good value cars. I would always say around £15,000 for a 3-year-old car is a real sweet spot, and there's lots of EVs that are now below £20,000. So yeah, I just thought this was a very interesting story. If you want to take a look, you can go watch the full interview that James did on the YouTube channel or on this story. But yeah, just interesting to see, because we've had written a lot of stories, so many stories about used car prices being flat or going down slightly, lots of things where it's very, very small. But to see things going up a little bit again, I think is interesting, particularly with EVs. And I just wonder if it's the Zach Polanski effect, because James doesn't believe that the Green Party is so popular as well. So
The who effect?
Zach Polanski.
What is a Zach Polanski?
How do you? Okay, no, I'm just going to move on. I was making a joke because you you don't believe Greens are popular, but and you hate EVs.
This is a separate conversation. Don't bring this into the podcast. But no, I was surprised about this. EV prices rising 2.9% in October. That was equivalent of £600. Darren said. And we've tried a few lately. You know, we've just bought our second e-Golf. The last one we had, we could have sold 10 times over. We had so much interest.
That is interesting, because I always ask used car dealers about how they find electric cars, and I get very mixed feelings. So this felt, I don't know, I found it sort of hard to believe, but I'll be interested to hear what Scott thinks of this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, Scott, what's your take on electric cars? Do you sell them?
We do. Well, we stock them. Selling them is a different story. we just yeah. I don't know. I struggle with them. I don't know if it's the northeast where it hasn't quite, where people haven't grasped it up here. There's plenty of electric cars up here, I suppose. So they will filter in, it will evolve, but we don't particularly do very well with them, and we're aggressive with the pricing. Obviously, there's not a lot of prep, tires and usual things like that. But we, as I say, we're having a try, but it's difficult. I've got a hybrid. My car's only done 2,000 miles, and you can drive 50 miles on it on all electric. And this morning it had a little moment, and the electric system went down, so I had to drive on just petrol, and the engine was shaking and everything when I pulled in, and the other car's like brand new. So I left it for a couple of hours, and then I went back, and then the electrics decided to work again. So I don't know what that was all about.
I mean, that sounds like a Land Rover product.
It is JLR. Yes, Land Rover product, yeah.
That's all good, isn't it? That's all good.
It's under a 3-year warranty. So, I thought if it did it, should I ring Land Rover Assist? I don't know. They're normally really good. Or is it a matter of just going through the dealer and seeing what was happening? But I started up at home from the app on the cold morning. So I don't know if it was something to do with that, where it was running on the petrol engine. Then I've got in, pressed it to go into EV, and it didn't want to switch over.
Can I throw something in sideways? Do you just not think that new cars, they're just not very good anymore? Like, I didn't mention this to you, James, but the Q7 had like some fault the other day where everything was, or yesterday when I drove it to New Forest. I just don't think that the electrics ever seem to work on stuff anymore.
Well, they're a lot more complicated, aren't they, cars these days?
I know, it's not good news for you guys, though, when they come round again to be sold as used cars.
No, it's not. It's not. Scott, can I just touch on those electric cars a little bit further? I mean, the market is obviously heading there. It's there by 2030. Only electric cars can be sold. It's not going to be long before dealers like you are going to be just selling only electric cars. Mm-hmm. Does that worry you a little bit, or do you think there's still going to be a huge market for petrol and diesel where those prices are going to rocket?
Yeah, I think there'll be a market for petrol and diesel, and there'll be people who will just be, I'm not having an electric car, I've always drove a diesel or a petrol. And I think that'll be strong, definitely in the northeast. And then there'll be people who, they'll try the electric car where they've never had one before, or their neighbour gets one, and they actually think, these are all right. And they're quite nice, and as long as they've got the range and so on, and they can charge them up. I think, obviously, where it's been said, across the UK, some people can't have them if they live in flats and things like that. It's not ideal. And if you're living on a street where a terrace street, and how are you going to charge them from your house with cables over the path? And some people it's not perfect for. So, but I suppose it'll evolve, and our forecourt will end up being electric eventually, I suppose.
I just think
Yeah,
it's one of these things where like it's going to be a massive boost to things like servicing and aftermarket, where people want to hold on to these things, but they want to keep them like the latest tech and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who won't be without CarPlay now, putting in those aftermarket things.
I mean, there's a shortage of good mechanics in the industry. A lot of them left during lockdown and went to be HGV drivers and do whatever they did. But when you look at bringing a student or an apprentice in and to work on petrol and diesel cars, which are on the way out, they're probably not going to be very interested in that. And so then the electric ones, I think you've got to be a bit more like switched on about tech and things like that to fathom out what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Shall I move us on?
Yes, if you'd like to.
Excellent, because that's how the podcast works. I will do that. So I'm going to pick a story from my Substack, which is slightly unusual, but it was an exclusive, so I'm going to pick it anyway. So this is my Substack newsletter that goes out every Friday. And this week we spoke to Vauxhall's MD, Steve Chaplin, who basically gave us his take on the electric car market and quite how tough it still is out there at the moment. He's obviously got quite a few electric cars in his portfolio to shift, and he's hoping for a little bit more help from the government. So in quite a wide-ranging chat, he told us that he fears that the ZEV mandate that's ramping up next year, which I forgot was going so high, it's going up to 33% of all new cars have to be electric next year. That's 1/3 of all cars have to be electric. That's quite a target. He's worried about that. He thinks it's unachievable. He's laying the blame for much of the slow uptake at the door of poor charging infrastructure, and he's actually called for a much more generous electric car grant. I'm going to start with that electric car grant because obviously that's got two different levels, the £3,750 and the £1,500 one. We're now, probably a couple of months, maybe a little bit more since it's been launched, maybe 3 months. There's still only 2 cars available for the full £3,750 grant, which is a Puma Gen E and the e-Tornado Courier, second car nobody's ever going to buy. Vauxhall has got 6 cars eligible, but they're all for the lesser grant of £1,500. So we asked him about this. And he said that he thinks the electric car grant is a significant amount of money that would move the needle very quickly if it was the full amount of £3,750. He said the £1,500 is very welcome, but over a 4-year contract, he says, which is how most people buy their cars, it's actually not as much money as you think. He asks, is £1,500 enough to move the needle in the way that we want it to? So it sounds to me like he would like a little bit more money. He'd like a few more cars eligible for that grant, and I can't say I disagree with him. Just going on that 33% target, I mean that is a big change. He says that that's 8 short weeks away, and when you look at retail sales of electric cars, it's far lower than that 33%. He said there's a lot of work to do in a short space of time. And the government needs to keep an open mind about the scale of the ambition and the pace of change that is necessary. He's hoping that there might be an intervention from the government next year. He says there's hoping that there will be a conversation in the next 12 months because when 1 in 3 cars needs to be electric and the industry's not at that level at the moment, he says, there could be some problems ahead. So an interesting conversation with Steve Chaplin there. He's clearly worried about it, speaking out in detail. We don't often get that. We don't often get MDs talking out in this way. So I was surprised when I read these comments and heard from, because it was James Batchelor who did the interview, but I've included it in my Substack. And I think he's right. I mean, I am a little bit worried about it. 1 in 3 new cars next year needs to be electric. I can't see it happening. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's going to kill the industry because the easiest way to get 1 in 3 is to sell less cars. I don't know. I find the whole thing painful, and I just think the whole thing's been mismanaged so badly. Like you say, the electric car charging network is shoddy, and we've been saying for, even the government has been saying for probably a decade how bad it is, but they've not actually done anything about it. And I know we're talking about two different, well, not even that, like 3 different sets of ministers or whatever, but 5 different prime ministers or something. And I just think like they need to make electric cars more affordable. They need to make new and used electric cars more affordable, so people choose them. They need to make charging more affordable, and then and the whole reason that charging is too expensive is because electricity is too expensive, because that's been mismanaged. Like the whole thing is just car manufacturers and dealers being put onto, being told they have to sell these things, they have to make these things, and it doesn't work. And I mean, I love electric cars. I like driving an electric car. We've got an electric car, but I just think the whole thing is not, it's been done in such a bad way that people just aren't going to make the move unless they're made a lot cheaper, and electric charging is a lot cheaper. So
What do you think, Scott? What do you think needs to happen to move the needle, as Steve Chaplin says?
Yeah, I think the whole thing's just frustrating. It's just, that's the word, probably just frustrating, the whole thing. You know, the infrastructure is not there, and then they're putting, you know, pressure on the manufacturers to do these things when they haven't got the infrastructure there. And I still think that there might be some kind of a super fuel around the corner, or some like cleaner fuel. Or I know there's different people working on that type of thing. So I mean, if that came out, you know, cleaner fuel, it would probably kill all the electrics. And if you could go to the fuel station and just, you know, fuel up like you normally do, and you've got your range, and if it was, you know, cheaper than petrol, and you didn't have to worry about charging it and flat batteries and all these different things, it might change things around.
Well, Rebecca, let's leave electric cars. Over to you.
God, I haven't thought far enough ahead for this. I'm going to, well, sort of picking up on some stuff that we've already said about how challenging the industry is at the moment, and like what's around the corner. And I'm going to turn it into a shameless plug for our NADA 2026 trip, because I wrote a story about that this week. Yeah, though it's only, I can't even remember what it was that Scott said that reminded me of it. But I did a story this week basically looking into all the different stuff that's going to be going on there. And obviously we've got people, different dealers and suppliers who are coming along on the trip, and talking to them about what they're interested in seeing and what they are looking to get out of it. It's sort of what sparked this. But there's lots of interesting things on, from like, obviously they're talking about implementing AI, like, is it actually the future? But also things, oh no, that's what it was that made me think about it, was about hiring the right people. And this sort of, because it's a problem that they have over the pond in America as well, is really technicians, getting the right technicians, because there's so much change in the industry. And it's also, I think, a job that people don't want to do as much, even though I always think like being a mechanic or a technician is really like a very technical job, isn't it? It takes a lot of skill, and there's people that just don't think of it that way, and that's why it doesn't, probably partly maybe a pay thing, but doesn't necessarily attract enough people. So yeah, they've got a whole, they call it a track for these different things. So they've got like a hiring track, which is all about things about like building culture, attracting the right people, building inclusive workplaces, but just like how's the best way to find people that will fit into your business. But yeah, I mean, like, you've been before, James, haven't you? I don't know if you have, Scott, but there's so much that goes on there to cover all different parts of the business. So yeah, my story, there's a very long list. I'm not going to go through everything, but yeah.
Are you bringing this up because I'm going to be going away again for 2 weeks and you're really angry about it? It sounds like a little bit of a subtle dig.
I don't think it did sound like a little subtle dig, but obviously it's playing on your conscience, isn't it? No, as I mentioned to you yesterday, I'm clocking up all these days, and I will be taking them in lieu. So when I disappear for 6 months, that's just me. I've just been like accumulating all these days that you're not looking after the children.
Sorry, Scott, that you've had to deal with this
people
domestic.
Listening.
Shall I move us on? Unless you've got any comments on that one, Scott, because I'd like to wedge one more in.
The only thing I would say was, when you're talking about technicians there, I think they've been massively undervalued for years. Years and years. They never got paid enough, and what they actually do, and their ability to strip down these engines and so on, the skill set and how much they got paid, they're always like the lower end of the trade. And I think it was only since COVID when there's obviously and what do you call it, Brexit, where a lot of these Eastern European lads, they went home and so on, made a shortage in the industry where obviously to attract good talent, you have to throw money at it. So I think that a lot of these mechanics, they're getting paid more now what they're worth, and it was very underpaid previously.
When you think about
Yeah.
how much that part of the business makes for
Massive.
businesses,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
it's worth
important.
having the right people, isn't it?
Yeah, superstars of the industry. I'm going to just wedge one more in. Have we got time for it?
Yeah.
Good. I'll just do one more then. And that's news that Group 1 is going to be ditching its JLR franchises, with all sites to be phased out over the next 2 years. I was incredibly shocked when I read this story. I was out and about at the time this WhatsApp came in our WhatsApp group, and this was news that Group 1 Automotive is going to be exiting all of its JLR franchises by 2027, a move confirmed in a staff memo from the UK CEO, Mark Rabin. He's the former Lookers CEO that's moved to Group 1. The business said it's going to sell or relinquish all its JLR sites, including locations in Guildford, Watford and Derby, as part of a wider portfolio review, but it stressed the decision is not a reflection on the brand. The news came alongside the company's Q3 results, which showed some very strong UK sales growth, used car volumes up 19.3%, which is very impressive. But it has cited some continuing challenges and a $20.3 million, obviously they're an American business, restructuring costs so far this year. JLR told us that it's working to ensure continuity of service at those sites. But yeah, like I say, I was very shocked when I got this. JLR franchises for a long time have been a jewel in the crown for car dealers. They've made the businesses a lot of money. They sell luxurious products with healthy margins that were really in demand. You know, I mean, we joke about the reliability, but the customers are incredibly loyal. They keep coming back, and stuff like the new Range Rover, new Defender have brought in a lot of business for some dealers and a lot of money. But I think the problem, just looking at this from the outside, is that the sites that these JLR dealers have to operate are huge, aren't they? Those dual arch franchise showrooms, massive sites. And actually, are they paying their worth? You know, are they making every square meter of that site work, or could these businesses like Group 1 fill them with a few different franchises and make even more money? And I think, reading between the lines, that's perhaps what Group 1 is going to do. I think they'll probably end up refranchising those sites with possibly some Chinese incoming brands. I don't know. I mean, it's I was shocked, and I had a few messages from other dealers that read the news and were shocked too, because you know, JLR franchise used to be the one that you really wanted, not the ones that you wanted to get rid of. So I was surprised. What did you think, Rebecca?
Can I just quiz you about it quickly? You did answer one of my questions there about what they were going to do with the site, but how many do they have?
Locations in Guildford, Watford and Derby.
So it's not very many.
No, but I think
I did read the story, but I've sort of forgotten it.
It might be a few more than that.
And how many have they bought in the last couple of years?
Quite a lot.
Was it because did they buy? I can't. This is terrible, isn't it? Did they buy?
I can't.
No,
remember.
it's all mixed up in my head. No, I just wondered if they were like recent acquisitions or something, and then to get rid of them seemed a bit odd.
They currently have 10 locations: Guildford, North West London, Watford, Sidcup, Southend, Derby, Kings Lynn, Norwich, Chester, and Preston.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a strange move because they are very expensive sites to invest in, like the amount of money they've had to invest in those sites. But then if they were acquisitions, and I am sort of remembering that correctly, then that's not a Group 1 cost, is it? It's a balance sheet thing when they've bought it over. But yeah, I agree. It seems strange, but then I mean, like I'm the sort of person that would ever run one. I wouldn't want one.
Really?
It's good just because of that, like how much they are. And we talked about this last time I was on the podcast when Joe was on, saying I just would never want a franchise, because the idea of someone telling me how I could run my business, or like turning up and going, so good news, you need to invest £5 million because we've changed our logo and you've got to redo your whole showroom. That does not appeal to me at all. And then also you look at like the Kevin Mackey thing, which I know is yet to be decided, but for someone to go, no, you can't have any cars actually, and we don't have to give you any cars, even though you've invested all this money. I was also a bit like, why would you want to work with in a franchise that way?
What did you think, Scott, when you saw this news? Were you surprised?
Yeah, it was for a big group like that to ditch a big brand like that. Yeah, it must be. I don't know why they do it unless they're forecasting in the future. But I agree with you, James. I think that you talk about you open the door costs on these big showrooms. I mean, just to heat them, it just must be colossal. The cost to run one of those. So I mean, it's relevant as long as you're selling the cars and they're busy. But if they're not particularly busy and it's tough times paying all those bills, it must be a bit tough.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we're probably out of stories, Rebecca, are we?
Yes.
And time.
And time, yeah. So, Scott, who do you think had the best stories?
Definitely you.
Thank you.
Is that because I went to a spa this week and you felt sorry for her?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what my stories were.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that. I'm glad someone does.
Well done.
Thank you very much, both of you, for being on the podcast this week. It's been lovely to talk to you, Scott.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It's lovely to talk to you, Scott. James, go do the washing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you to both of you for being on the show this week. If you want to find out more about any of the stories we've talked about today, you can head over to cardealermagazine.co.uk, or you can scroll down and you will find them all in the show notes if John does do that later, which I assume he will. We will be back again next week. Well, I won't be back, but neither will James. I think
we're on holiday, aren't we? So somebody else will be back here.
Yeah, John will be back with someone else, I think, Batch. But if you've enjoyed today, don't forget to hit subscribe. And until next time I'm on in the distant future, goodbye.